Hi everyone, Petrik here. Today's video will be about my February TBR, but before that, I want to give a special shout out to my Patreons because my Patreon is now 1 year old. Thank you so much. I cannot believe that there are now 30 of you, and seriously, thank you so much to all of you. You have supported my hobbies for reading, reviewing, and now creating videos on BookTube even further. As for my February TBR, I really hope that I will have a better reading month than January. Don't get me wrong, my January reading month was great. I will talk about them further in my January wrap up, but it really could have been better because all the books that I finished in January ranges between 3 until 4 stars rating. I didn't manage to find any 5 stars read. I think that's the first time this happened in a very long time. So yeah, this month I plan to read 8 books. I don't know whether that's possible or not because some of these books are really thick. The first two books that I plan to read in February are the third and fourth book in the Last Kingdom series by Bernard Cornwell. The third book is Lords of the North and the fourth book is Sword Song. I have really enjoyed the first two books. The first season of the TV show adapted the first two books, and I think the first two books were definitely better than the first season. If I'm not mistaken, the second season is where two of my favorite side characters in the TV show appeared. They're Finan and Petrik. So hopefully I will see them in the third and fourth book. As I've mentioned, this is one of my priority series and I plan to read 2 books per month. And so far, even though only January has passed, it's been going great. Yay! Then the next book that I'm going to read is a reread. This is Death House Gates, the second book in Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson. I have been so amazed by my reread of Gardens of the Moon. It felt like reading a different book, and I'm very curious to see how this one will work out because I remember that Death House Gates was the first time the series improved so much in its complexity and denseness. This is so much more dense than Gardens of the Moon. And most importantly, I have to mention this because on my first read of Death House Gates, my experience was really ruined because the major event in this book, it has been spoiled for me for years. I seriously don't know why people constantly spoil the major event in this book. And I don't want to spoil this to you all, but I think the major event that I'm talking about in this book is very important to be unknown for first-time reader. It's really the culmination of everything that transpired in this book. And I know that a reread means that I already know everything about the story that happens in this book. But I will be keeping my fingers crossed that a reread of Death House Gates will be even better than the first time I read through it. Pretty much the entire story in Death House Gates takes place in a desert called Raraku, and the next book that I'm going to read is another desert-based fantasy, and it is called The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. This is an advanced reading copy. Orbit sent this one to me. And this is a debut, and it is one of Orbit's biggest debut of the year. The Unbroken comes out in March, but I've heard some great reviews about it already. I pretty much know nothing about the story here. I'm going to give you the synopsis now. The fates of two women on opposite sides of a revolution will become irrevocably tied in C.L. Clarke's debut fantasy, an unmissable epic of uprising, espionage, and empire set in the desert kingdom inspired by North Africa. Taurine is a soldier, stolen as a child and raised to kill and die for the empire. Her only loyalty is to her fellow conscripts, but the ties of blood may be stronger than she thought. Luca is royalty. At least she was. But to get her power back, she needs a turncoat, someone desperate enough to tiptoe the bayonet's edge between treason and orders. Through assassination and massacres, in bedrooms and war rooms, Taurine and Luca will haggle over the price of a nation. But some things aren't for sale. It doesn't have to be similar, but I hope The Unbroken will be as good as The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, another African-inspired fantasy that I really enjoyed. And the next book that I'm going to read is a self-published book. It is called Dreams of the Dying by Nicholas Lietzow. This is the first book in Enderal series. I honestly cannot believe that this is a self-published book. Seriously, it's absolutely gorgeous. And the production value of this one is insane. I'm not kidding. Look at the cover art. I have a very good feeling about this one, and it's usually not wrong. I've read the prologue, and it's so good already. It's crazy. And I really have to tell you the synopsis of this book because, wow, it sounds incredible already. Years after a harrowing war experience, ex-mercenary Jespar Dalvarek has taken to drifting. It's a lonely existence, but barring the occasional bout of melancholia, he has found the closest thing to peace a man like him deserves. Life is alright. Or so he tells himself. Hoping to turn the page, Jespar accepts a mysterious invitation into the beautiful but dangerous archipelago of Kilai, and everything changes. Plagued by boiling social tensions and terrorism, the tropical empire is edging ever closer to civil war. Kilai's merchant king may be the only one able to prevent this catastrophe, but he has fallen into a preternatural coma, and it's Jespar's job to figure out who or what caused it. As the investigation takes him across the archipelago and into the king's nightmares, unexpected events not only tie Jaspar's own life to the mystery, but also unearth inner demons he believed to be long exorcised. Battling all trauma while fighting for his life, his sanity, and the fate of Kilai, the line between dream and reality blurs further and further, until only one question remains. If your mind is the enemy, where do you run? That sounds amazing to me already, and sounds like this one will be very character driven, my favorite type of fantasy books to read. And I want to show you some of the production value of this book. First, look at the cover art. It's absolutely gorgeous. The cover art is done by Dominic Darrow, and every interior artwork inside this is done by him too. You have to take a look at some of this. So at the back of the book, there is a map, and then there is a bestiary list. Look. There's also some character art and character sketches. It's just such a beautiful book. I cannot believe that this one is so published. The author has already went all out on this. I am very thankful of Nicholas, the author. I'm very thankful to Nicholas for sending this book to me to read and review. I'm very excited to read this one. Then the next book that I'm going to read is Voidbreaker. This is the third book in the Keeper series by David Dalglish. Even though David Dalglish is mostly well known for his Shadow Dance series, but this was the first time I tried his book. And if I'm not mistaken, the first book, Soulkeeper, was actually the first time Orbit Books sent a physical copy to me. So it's kind of a special series to me. I really hope that the author will be able to nail the conclusion, because I gave the first two books, both of them, 4.5 out of 5 stars rating. They're so good. Then the seventh book that I'm going to read in February is Heroes Die by Matthew Woodring Stover. This is the first book in the Acts of Cain quartet, and I'm not gonna lie, I have heard a lot of great things about this book, but I have been postponing reading this one because of the atrocious cover art. Look at it. This is so ugly. I am so sorry, but this simply doesn't look like it will be a grimdark science fantasy. Look at it. What is this? But you know what? The Acts of Cain is actually one of my priority series to read, and I'm going to apply do not judge a book by its cover thoroughly for this one, because it indeed has received so many praises. So yeah, hopefully it's true. And the final book that I'm going to read in February is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This is the first book in Radiant Emperor duology. I am very fortunate that even though this book hasn't been released, it will come out in 6 months in July. And I have managed to get an arc. Thank you so much to Tor Books. Pretty much everyone I know who have read this book absolutely loved it. Whether it's authors or reviewers, all of them loved it. And I cannot wait any longer. I have to read this now. It's an Asian-inspired fantasy, which is always a plus for me. And my co-blogger, Emma, who is really hard to please, has read this one, and she said it's one of the best books she has ever read. So yeah, sign me up. That's all the books that I'm going to read in February. Do you see anything interesting here? Let me know what are the books that you're going to read in February. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'm always grateful for your support. I hope you all will have a lovely day, and please stay safe. Happy reading to you. Bye bye.